The value of consumer rights says that I have the right to return an item if it's not right. The challenge is the values of the actual item. In other words, if I bought men's underpants, presuming that they're going to fit me because of the size that they say they are, and I get home and find that they don't fit, I'm going to question the clerk at the store because they actually say a certain size. And that size implies that they'll fit around my thighs. But here's the truth. If you failed to let me know that those were a child's pair, then you failed your company. And you failed me because you knew damn well I was there for men's underwear. I'd given a week and a half notice in advance of that I'm coming in for more fucking underwear. But you never seem to have enough sizes because you're really a remnant store. In other words, you get shit from your company that comes from other companies like Macy's and whatnot, and it comes through the store maybe a year or two later, but it becomes popular in this community because it's not the world famous communities of Chicago or New York or Los Angeles or whatnot. So the stuff that your people are running around the community are popular to them, like things like Pokemon, which in Japan was popular when I was there over 20 fucking years ago. Now, when I talk about consumerism, I'm talking about what people have the rights to buy. And when someone invests in my programs, they are buying me, meaning they're buying my skills, they're buying my talent, they're buying my time, most of all, but they're also buying my prep time. You see, a price in a program is based on not just the hours in with the client for their training and for their presentation, but they're also buying the time in preparation. Now, are they buying the materials? Not always. In my language program, my Japanese language programs, no one had the right to buy the materials, although they always went home with new handouts, new pieces of paper, etc. So I want you to think about the cost of getting new papers every single time. So while I made my hourly wage correctly in what needed to be made as a professional tutor, a professional trainer, and a person who taught both groups and college classes through the community college and other things as a man in my world, I also was losing money in the things that I gifted to students to reward them for choosing me as their trainer. You see, they were receiving gift papers to practice on, but they were not receiving papers from which to take to anyone else to teach, which was what it said in my contract, and openly they were not allowed to take it and claim it as their own under propriety materials or intellectual property. You see, intellectual property belongs to the creator. It never, ever belongs to someone else unless you're buying a licensing agreement. When I purchased images and took them apart and utilized them to build new logos and new designs, I owned that license. I then sold the new images, the new coloring, the new everything to someone else, and that was a part of the licensing. Now, if a new conglomerate, a huge fucking thing like Getty Images, goes in and buys those small companies, we all get fucked because the prices of images then go sky high to the point that small business owners can't use them. So then we go back to being the old-fashioned photographer like I've always been since age 7 and openly employed by age 15 to do. But the reality is that when we do these things, we own the images. The photographer owns the image. So if you're out there in your little fandom mind using somebody else's artwork, someone else's photograph, someone else's personal brand image as your online profile, you are actually committing fraud, you stupid fuck. Because you don't own that copyright of that photograph, the photographer does. And you don't own that art design, the designer does. Unless, of course, it's a conglomeration of someone putting a whole bunch of different art together, making a whole new copyright. But you don't have the right to steal someone's copyrighted work and then try to rebuild it to something else because you didn't buy a fucking thing.